Good morning, Monday Morning Musings by Melinda. I hope that you had a lovely weekend. We had a lovely weekend. We spent Friday night with the people from Eric's house. I want to thank everybody that came to Eric's house for a night of spiritual connections. And we had some real connections with some people from the other side. It was really lovely. And our Sunday afternoon of Spiritual Connections is coming up on September 19th at the Hilton Garden Inn, and we are sold out. And so if you have bought your ticket, please don't worry. There is a registration table, and you will have a name tag on your registration table. And Bill, my husband, will be calling you. His number is a 361 number, 361-774-4881, to make sure that you know all your details and that you're all set. So you'll be getting a call from him today. And if you miss his call, call him back so that you can know exactly what you need to do to come to the Hilton Garden Inn Sunday between 2 and 4, where we will make lots of spiritual connections for people. I guess I got a frog in my throat this morning. I'm sorry. So last week on Monday, I forgot. I guess sometimes I talk and forget about what I'm supposed to talk about. But I was supposed to talk to someone about what to do if your husband doesn't like one of the children's significant others, and that's a tough question. The worst thing that anyone can do if you don't like one of your children's spouses is to reject that spouse and to make a big deal out of it, because, you know, the truth is that kind of resistance never creates harmony in the family, nor does it help someone see through that veil of love to understand what you may be seeing about the significant other. So you have to kind of move your own energy out of the way and allow yourself to open up to your child's spouse no matter what. Now, this can be very challenging, especially if your child's spouse has a drug or alcohol issue, a gambling problem, or is a cheater or whatever. But, you got to support your child first. However, sometimes you're with your own spouse who makes things worse, and it puts you right in the middle. And the only thing that you can really do is try to talk to your spouse about how that kind of division in a family never works and never makes movement and never makes a connection, kind of like what's happening in our country right now. Like, our divisions are not working. We are not making movement. We are not creating harmony. We are not getting ahead of things in a way that makes for something positive in the future. Because whenever you have that kind of divide, it really doesn't help anything. So you can talk to your spouse, but what you need to do is support your child the best you can and support your spouse the best you can without having that disharmony in the family. Good morning, Rhonda. So today I want to talk to you about do you listen and can you hear? Because sometimes people appear to be listening and they're not hearing at all. And there are certain types of people that really don't hear. That would be a narcissist, right? Someone who's so self-absorbed and self-involved that they can't hear a word you're saying. They can't wait for you to stop so they can tell you about themselves. But a codependent doesn't hear and listen well either, because a codependent is always trying to find a way to solve things and to jump in there real quick and make it better, make you feel better. So they're not really hearing either, because sometimes that's a form of discounting you. Actually, both a narcissist and a codependent, when they're, listening, not really hearing, and they're, putting their own spin or judgment on it, they're equally as difficult to have a conversation with. And then there's people who are always in a constant state of defense. Some of that comes from childhood trauma. And so they're used to being defensive, so they can't hear what you're saying either. They're just ready to combat whatever. And sometimes there's a lot of misunderstandings involved in that. It's very interesting. Just recently had experience with someone where about 6 people were on the same page, but this person was on a totally different page and wouldn't hear a thing that anybody was saying. because they were so with their arms wrapped around their own agenda. And I find that very interesting when there is one person standing their ground. And I'm not talking about anything political right now, so let's not go there, for God's sakes. It's just a different kind of a misunderstanding. But it kind of makes you stop and pause when somebody can't hear not just one person, but several people say the same thing. And they're so stuck in their own agenda. That has to do with either narcissism or insecurity, right? And so I hope that you are the kind of person that can not only listen, but can hear what somebody else is saying, especially someone that's in grief, okay? Again, I've talked to you about this before, but when we are dealing with somebody who's grieving, our tendency is to try to make it some kind of a similarity to how we grieve. That doesn't work. You just have to hold space and say you're sorry for whatever loss that they have incurred, because you don't feel the same feelings if you've lost a child and you've lost a parent or you've lost a pet. I'm sorry, they're not comparable. So therefore, it's better to not say anything at all, because, you don't really know how someone feels within the dynamics of their own grief. You just need to be able to not only listen, but to hear them. So, Leo Biscaglia wrote something really wonderful about listening, and I thought I would share it with you this morning. And because it's so apropos. When I ask you to listen to me and you start giving me advice, you have not done what I've asked. When I ask you to listen to me and you begin to tell me why I shouldn't feel that way, you are trampling on my feelings. When I ask you to listen to me and you feel you have to do something to solve my problem, you have failed me, strange as that may seem. Listen. All I ask is that you listen. Don't talk or do. Just hear me. Advice is cheap, and I can do for myself. I am not helpless. Maybe discouraged and faltering, but not helpless. When you do something for me that I can do and need to do for myself, you contribute to my fear of inadequacy. But when you accept as a simple fact that I feel what I feel, no matter how irrational, then I can stop trying to convince you and get about the business of understanding what's behind this irrational feeling. And when that's clear, and the answers are obvious, and I don't need advice, irrational feelings make sense when we understand what's behind them. Perhaps that's why prayer works, sometimes for a lot of people, because a higher power just listens and lets you work it out for yourself. A higher power is mute and does not give advice or try to fix things. So please listen, just hear me. And if you want to talk, wait a minute for your turn, and I will listen to you. Isn't that fantastic? Because, we get into this situation where we are listening but not hearing. We are, tapping into our own agenda. We are working from our own childhood defense mechanisms. We are assuming things that we shouldn't assume. There are all kinds of ways that we don't hear. But particularly on social media, people read into things that are not even there. Not only do they read into things that are not even there, but then they comment. So interesting. Can we please start hearing each other and come together in a way that makes sense with honor and integrity, respect and foresight, that we've got a world that we have to hand down to children, and we should not be teaching children this kind of bullying, this kind of rhetoric, this kind of nonsense. Can we hear each other and really listen and just hold space? I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Monday.